the Islamic Students Association of Britain has hosted online and platformed 8 senior IRGC officials, where these IRGC officials promoted terrorism, they promoted their violent Islamist extremist ideology, they propagated extreme anti-Semitism, and called on British Muslim students of the association to join the apocalyptic army.
Kasra, for people who are not perhaps familiar with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, tell us what they do.
So it's important to understand that the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is not a conventional armed force. It is an ideological organization that operates no differently to prescribed entities in the UK, from the likes of ISIS to Hezbollah. So it has a formal program of indoctrination to radicalize its recruits and their families in a violent Islamist extremist ideology that calls on its members to wage jihad on Jews, Christians, and Iranians who oppose the Islamic Republic regime, to its modus operandi, where it uses terrorism, hostage-taking, hijackings as its primary tools to operate. It is distinct from the Iranian regular armed forces, which is a conventional army. It sits separate, and according to the Islamic Republic's 1979 constitution, it is mandated with an ideological mission of jihad in God's path to spread Sharia globally. So this really is a violent Islamist extremist organization that operates no differently, as I said, to the likes of ISIS or Al-Qaeda.
How closely connected is it to the Iranian government?
Sure. I mean, it is part of the Iranian regime. It is part of the Islamic Republic. That constitution outlines it as an ideological army. Now, according to the ideology of the Islamic Revolution, according to this Shia Islamist ideology, they don't recognize nation states. So the IRGC itself recognizes itself as a force for global Shia Islamism. It recognizes the borders of the Shia Ummah. It regards nation-state boundaries as a Westphalian concept, as a Western construct, and instead it divides the world between the Dar al-Islam, the land of Muslims, and Dar al-Kufr, the land of infidels, just like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other Islamist extremist organizations.
Kasra, you came across some seminar recordings by the IRGC. Tell us more about what they were saying.
Sure. So we know we have concrete evidence that the Islamic Students Association of Britain has hosted online and platformed 8 senior IRGC officials, where these IRGC officials promoted terrorism, they promoted their violent Islamist extremist ideology, they propagated extreme anti-Semitism, and called on British Muslim students of the association to join the apocalyptic army, which, quote, will bring the end in the lives of the occupiers, Zionists, and Jews across the world. Now, of the 8 officials that spoke and have been platformed at the Islamic Students Association of Britain, which is based out of Qanun Tawheed in Hammersmith in London, of those 8, 3 are among the most senior violent Islamist extremist IRGC commanders connected to the highest levels of the IRGC's intelligence and security circle. And of those 3, we had Saeed Qasemi, who is a notorious commander of the IRGC's plainclothes unit, who, by the way, in 2019, live on Iranian TV, boasted about his role and the IRGC's role in training Al-Qaeda forces in the Bosnian conflict in the early 1990s. We had Hosseini Yekta, again, another senior IRGC plainclothes commander, who is also a key indoctrinator and a key recruiter for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And next to that, we had Ali Fazli. Ali Fazli is the current deputy coordinator of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. He was one of the commanders of the Sarallah headquarters, which is the most important suppression headquarters of times of unrest in Iran. He was also, by the way, sanctioned by the British government in 2011. Now, these 3 commanders, as I said, have been platformed by a London-based entity and propagated and promoted terrorism.
What would you like to see the Home Office do? They've already said that this is a threat to UK citizens. What action do they need to be taking?
Well, look, the first thing to note is from the concrete evidence we have, we can tell that this UK-based entity is not only promoting and glorifying IRGC terrorism, it is in direct contact, it is communicating with the highest security intelligence circles of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, this is all taking place at a time when the IRGC is not only conducting direct terror plots against UK nationals, as spelled out by MI5, but it is also seeking to nurture homegrown Islamist radicalization, Islamist extremism, Islamist terrorism in the UK, using methods not too dissimilar to the likes of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Unlike ISIS and Al-Qaeda, however, the current UK sanctions regime on the IRGC does not prohibit the propagation and dissemination of the IRGC's violent Islamist extremist propaganda. It does not prohibit IRGC propaganda. And that's why terror legislation is so key. The IRGC must be prescribed as a terrorist organization. Terror designation would give government, would give the Charity Commission, would give tech companies a clear mandate to prohibit any activity directly or indirectly related to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It would also equip local communities, such as teachers, such as local police forces, with the right tools to mitigate against Shia radicalization, IRGC radicalization. The UK's Prevent programme, which is designed to mitigate and prevent UK nationals from becoming radicalized and then becoming terrorists, does not at the moment cover IRGC or Shia radicalization. So it is exclusively focused on Salafi jihadism, which is Sunni Islamist extremism. So terror legislation, again, would change that and would equip our local communities with the right tools to mitigate against IRGC and Shia radicalization and extremism.
Kasra, thank you so much for giving us your time. Really fascinating. Thank you so much. Kasra Aarabi, their expert on Iran and the IRGC.